spin and shadows, one voice cuts through the lies like a blade through smoke.
Fear no man, fear no evil.
Because the truth is the only thing that matters.
Dance with the devil, walk with the angels, and the truth shall set you free. This ain't for the faint of heart. This ain't for the easily offended. This is where real talk lives. Because if it ain't black, it's white.
Welcome to the one, the only, the Robb Crocker Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, welcome to the Robb Crocker Show. My name is Alex Gonzalez, and I'm here in a remote location. We're in a secret location today for various reasons unknown. But we're here with, of course, the man of the hour, Robb Crocker himself. How are we doing today, Rob?
Hey, it's great to be here in parts unknown. Dance with the devil, walk with the angels, and let the truth set you free, Gonzo.
Amen to that. We've got a lot to talk about today in the U.S., a lot outside the U.S. I mean, really leading up to today. Today specifically, I was looking at a lot of stuff and thinking, all right, there's a lot going on here that we could talk about.
People don't understand, Gonzo, how much happens in 1 week. So we have to kind of just blanket and say what's important to us. We could copy everything you see on the news, but who wants to see that? So we want to talk a little bit about this and a little bit about that and the things that actually matter to us and that matter to the people who tune in and the audience that we want to have.
Of course, because they can watch the news anytime
Right.
they really want to. We don't want to be another mainstream news outlet. We want to talk about real issues and give what I would say is like a normal person's opinion, and an opinion that you can trust to be genuine, not manufactured or, behind an agenda.
As we always say, what you hear here is the truth.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to give you bullshit.
Right.
This is just the reality of the world that we live in. So tonight, we're not going to mess around. The reason we're here, we're going to get to the snakes in the grass. People don't understand how difficult it is to get rid of snakes when they invade your property, your environment, in your world. So where this is taking place is in the Everglades of Florida. The Burmese python is native from Asia. So somehow it, just like all of the other things that have come to America, has infiltrated and crossed the border.
Is that an invasive species in the Everglades?
Yes, it is not meant to be there. It's destroying the ecosystem there.
Oh, wow.
So what the Florida wildlife has come up with, which with AI and robotics, they have deployed 120 robotic rabbits. They have them in boxes and in perches to where they move, and they have a scent that they put off, trying to attract the snakes to come to the location.
Wow.
There's cameras surrounding all of these locations. This is where it got sideways for me, that once the snake infiltrates that area, it locates that snake and it deploys a beacon to one of the agents that's out there wrestling and killing the pythons. So is it a good idea? Sure. Because the wildlife there in the Everglades is getting destroyed by the pythons. So if it works, and that's great. But I just found it very interesting that there's more ways than one to get a snake.
So who's organizing this? Is it the government?
This is the Florida Wildlife, who issue your hunting and your fishing license. So that's who manages Florida's wildlife.
I think it's crazy too, because if that's what they're doing right now with robot rabbits, imagine the technology that they have that we don't really know about in terms of different animals that they're using robotically, whether it's for like spying or infiltrating other countries or something like that. I can't imagine that this is like the first real test or real thing that they've done with like robotic animals.
Well, they say that China has drones that look like birds.
Yeah.
that can fly around. And so the knowledge that that can gain is tremendous. So I agree with you. I think that the technology's out there. What's it going to do to the normal person who just goes along and thinks everything's kumbaya? Because everywhere you're walking and driving, like when we go through the city, like today, there's cameras taking pictures of your face, acknowledging where you are, and it's going to a database. You don't have to have someone sitting there looking at a computer anymore. This is all getting done by AI.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the other things we talked about a long time ago, where you had the surveillance company, Flock, who have the cameras all around the interstate and all through towns and everything that read your license plate.
Yeah.
Tell if you're speeding, tell who and where you are, and it's reporting on the second to databases, so they know what vehicle is where all the time. But they amped up that technology to where now that they have a monitoring device that can tell and register if your behavior seems criminal. So that's where I think it's crossing the line. I've always said that all of these toll roads, those cameras, they're going to start writing you tickets.
Yeah.
If you're going fast, just like seatbelts, red light, you're going to start getting tickets from all of this.
Yeah. I think the problem with that, which to put it in a simple way, is social media, Instagram specifically, is using AI now to monitor your account to see what you're posting. And based on what you're posting and what's in your bio or in your name, they will restrict your content from being shown to non-followers. And the problem with that is, since AI is doing it, it might pick up on one word that they see and not get the whole picture. So they'll automatically block your account from being shown to non-followers. And instead of someone reviewing it beforehand, it's automatic. So then you have to appeal it and hope that someone actually sees it and verifies your account again. So in a similar sense, if they have it so where they're reliant on AI to make these decisions and not have someone actually check first before they send out a ticket or whatever the case is, that's a slippery slope. Because then if you're getting all these tickets, and let's say it's a malfunction or AI is not programmed to the best of its abilities to actually know if you're speeding or committing a violation, you're getting all these tickets, then you're spending time appealing it or going to court and fighting it. So they have to be really careful with that, because you could be in a situation where you're getting fines and tickets all the time.
AI is only as good as the information that's put into AI to initiate the function of it moving forward. So as this progresses, I believe that the technology is going to be greater. It's like everybody says, Gonzo, AI is going to be bigger than the human mind. And how are you going to control how, what, when it does what it does?
I mean, AI is, I think, already bigger than essentially any human mind, and arguably all of our minds combined, it's matching that. So really, since it's still under certain parameters and we have certain controls over it, I think eventually it will get to the point where it will be out of our control. I mean, we saw ChatGPT essentially trying to save itself and reboot itself when they were shutting it down to, update it. So you have that already. We've had AI for, realistically, the public's had it for like 2 years. And if that's where we are right now, I can't imagine where we'll be next year, how powerful it really will be.
Well, when they can take people's face and put on other people's bodies.
Yeah, deep fake.
Yeah. And that is gaining momentum tremendously. I was watching something coming to meet you to where Zuckerberg was Spider-Man going through the city. So imagine the chaos it can create for crimes, for example. The ability to do things like that. That's when you've got to really worry that, were you really there?
Yeah.
Or was it somebody else? And speaking of that, that's where we're going to go to the White House. I laughed so hard that some mad woman or mad someone was throwing things out of the White House all weekend.
Yeah.
So AI, there, personally, there's no way that you're opening a 700 pound window that's bulletproof, that is fixed shut, but AI generated pictures of things flying out of the upper story of the White House this weekend. Did you happen to see that?
I did see that. Yeah. I mean, it was videos. And to your point, though, you really can't trust anything you see now, even if it is on the mainstream media, because they've made mistakes plenty of times. And you bring up a great point about the actual capability of you throwing something out of the window of the White House is nearly impossible because, like you said, that is a fixed window. It's bulletproof. I mean, that window is designed to be impenetrable for obvious reasons.
Correct. So then you have the mainstream news media taking something and not fact checking it, not doing anything other than running and creating chaos. So it is only going to get worse. It was actually funny today that I was able to look at my phone and see a reporter actually go up and show the president because he hadn't seen it. He's like, "Nah, that's fake. That's AI." So because his wife would actually like to be able to open a window to have fresh air.
Right.
So AI is going to have the ability to be very detrimental, or it has the ability to help people as well.
Yeah.
But throwing a curveball at you real quick, I don't know if you've seen the lawsuit against AI from a family whose son committed suicide.
No, I haven't seen that.
Okay. Well, the young person was asking AI about all of these things, about how to do this. And AI essentially guided him through this process. If you have marks on your neck, make sure you're wearing a high-collared shirt. So this will be the first test to see if a family has the ability to actually you're not making money because you lost your child, but to actually be able to recover monies.
Right. Damages, essentially.
Yeah.
That's tricky. I mean, that honestly is tricky. It's a tricky situation because, I mean, could you find that information on Google, let's say, what he was looking up? And I mean, I think that AI generally does still have parameters to not talk about certain stuff, but there are ways to bypass it and kind of trick AI into, hypothetically telling you how to do certain things. I am curious to see how that turns out because it's tricky, man. I mean, it kind of falls onto the parents in a way for monitoring what their kid is doing. I don't know how old the kid was, if you know.
I don't know the exact age, but it was a minor.
Yeah.
So, again, where do you lose your freedoms? You see parents, you see governments wanting to ban phones. I know a lot of states have banned phones in school right now.
Yeah.
So maybe that can potentially help. I don't know, but it's just AI is it's dancing with the devil and walking with the angels.
Yeah.
That is a perfect example of AI.
Absolutely.
So, all right, turning it around, my man. We're going to go out tomorrow and we're going to buy some Kevlar helmets.
Really?
Kevlar helmets.
For testing purposes?
Testing purposes.
I don't like
Then you and I, we're getting a gun. I'm going to let you shoot me.
Okay, cool.
Actually, I'm going to shoot you first.
No. I like the first idea.
So you're going to shoot me first in the head with my Kevlar helmet to see if it works.
Okay.
Then if somehow mine works, I'm going to shoot you in yours to see if yours works. These two friends in Houston, Texas, thought the scenario I just described with you and I
was a good idea.
Was a great idea.
Wow.
So they actually had the Kevlar helmets and they agreed that they were going to shoot each other in the head. Well, the unfortunate part about it is one of the Kevlar helmets, which was the first one, failed it was not able to sustain the bullet that was shot and the guy died. Now the other friend is being charged with murder. So what is your take on that? You had a gentleman's agreement that you were doing this. So should he be charged with murder?
I don't think murder, but manslaughter at the minimum. I mean, because that was an agreement between them that they were going to do it. So yeah, I mean, technically, I would think it would be manslaughter and not murder. Obviously, both people are stupid, and when it comes to Kevlar, there's certain levels of Kevlar. You know, like 3 and 4, and you have to be aware of the caliber and what your certain level can withstand or the distance, because point blank, a lot of times it might not work if you have level 2 or level 3. But I mean, regardless, it's a dumb idea to do on yourself or another human.
So
That's
do you
why
want to have a friend that's like that, or do you think that's just balls to the wall? Man, we're badass. Let's go do this.
No, I think it's stupid.
Okay,
I
so
think,
it is a dumb move.
100% dumb move. I mean, they literally make, you know, like, what do you call it? Dolls or mannequins that you can use for this, like lifelike, human-like targets for testing purposes that you can do this on. The fact that they were like, I mean, I don't know how old these guys were.
They're in their they're in their 30s.
Really?
Yeah. Houston, Texas.
I mean,
You hear about it all the time.
Yeah.
Texas is bigger.
Bigger idiots too.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that it's absolutely stupid. Granted, I don't think murder is I don't think they're going to get murder. They'll definitely get manslaughter though. And he'll go away because, I mean, that's essentially negligent, their behavior.
So that's what my question was. We've seen assisted suicide in the past. So if you make a deal with someone that you have a verbal contract with, that we are going to do this, I'm not holding you harm, you're not holding me, and let's just see what happens.
Yeah.
So the laws should supersede the ignorance and stupidity of the two friends.
Well, if we're going to argue if it should or not, that's a different conversation. I mean, I think that there should be a certain procedure if you really were going to do that. I mean, for example, they've done this for testing purposes in a specific company or a lab where they are cleared to do human testing, so to say. So I think there's certain procedures where this could have been done legally, but I can understand perfectly where we're in the, legally speaking, we can't just go out with our guns and shoot each other in the head. I mean, it is. I just think that that's not okay, because we're going to have people going out and killing themselves. And that's different from the whole assisted suicide conversation. Again, there's procedures to do that the right way. I mean, if you asked me to kill you because you were, done with life, and I do it, I'm still going to prison.
Right.
I just can't be like, well, he told me to do it. Because, and I don't care if we have video or proof or whatever, it's not going to fly.
So basically, we agree on something.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But two, then they'll say, well, he wasn't in the right mental state. He was under the influence. So that's super tricky to even try and get away with, let alone even if you do it like the right way.
So the conclusion of this is: do not buy Kevlar, do not shoot at one another, and do not think you're invincible.
Right, exactly. If you're gonna buy Kevlar, use it for legitimate reasons. I mean, obviously there's a reason for Kevlar, and it's not to test it.
Don't make dumb decisions.
Each other. Yeah, exactly.
So, well, since last week's show, there's been another tremendous, horrific school shooting that took place in Minneapolis. And we've talked about this over and over again. And I'm a staunch believer that every school should have metal detectors. But this scenario, a metal detector would not have prevented the horrendous act that took place, as the shooter was shooting through stained glass inside a church to innocent children who were in there praying.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to talk about a lot of things because people arguing and saying, well, this shows you that prayer doesn't do anything. Oh, man, come on, get real. You had a sick individual who was determined to act out and do what this person, we'll get into that in a minute, wanted to do. I don't know if you visually saw all of the things written on the magazines and the guns. It just, this person was filled with craziness. There's no other way to say it.
Mentally ill.
Very mentally ill. So I went and looked at the school shootings across the world. And I had someone argue with me about, well, they don't have access to firearms. And I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure anyone can get a firearm, just like they can get a knife, just like they can take their vehicle and drive it into a crowd of people. So school shootings across the world. I'll be interested to see what you think of this. Japan, 0. South Korea, 0. Finland, 0. UK, 0. Germany, 1. China. Think how big China is. 1. France, 2. Russia, 2. Canada, just our northern border from us, 2 school shootings. Brazil, 2. Mexico, 8. And I think the Mexican school shootings that happened are all because the school was between one gang cartel over here and another cartel over here. I think those are just innocent. That's my personal thought. In the United States, 288. So there's no one over 10 here.
Yeah.
And you're talking about the United States, 288. So are the politicians and the local school boards so naive that they don't want to stop this? Or is it them? They have an opportunity to prevent it from being drastic like this. But it starts with the individual. A gun has never killed a person. It's the person pulling the trigger. And all of these school shootings are horrendous. Aberdeen, Nashville, Georgia, Philadelphia, Iowa, Uvalde, Colorado, the most recent one, Minneapolis. Every one of these school shootings was committed by a transgender individual. And everyone is consumed immediately. Rednecks with AR-15s across this country are the problem. Well, I just listed all of these school shootings to you, Gonzo, that were committed by transgender individuals. So who is the responsible person here? Is it? We know there's 2 genders. There's male and female. So the minute the doctor tries to get involved and change the science, should the doctor be held accountable? Because when you start pumping kids full of hormones in an attempt to defy science, which science is scientifically proven, you are either a male or a female. We have a lot of choices in our life, but changing our sex isn't one of them. It's not meant to be. You're messing with things that are not meant to be messed with. So when you look at the violent groups across the world, it seems to me that the trans is the most violent per capita of anyone else across the world. So how does this get prevented? especially right now when you have school boards and teachers hiding from their parents of what kids are actually going through right now. This is only going to escalate. It's not going to come down. So, where's the problem?
Well, I would start off by saying this is, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, this is a more complicated situation than most people realize. A lot of people, when they get into this conversation, it's very black and white for them. And despite that being the theme of our show, there's a lot of gray area in this conversation, a lot of things that need to be discussed and dived into. And when you brought up the different countries, 0, 1, 2 school shootings across the board, even in China being so low versus the US with it being over 200, my immediate thought is, okay, let's look at stabbings in schools in these other countries, or, different ways that people are being um, murdered, essentially, because that goes to the tool conversation. Here in America, whether you like it or not, we have, I think, 3 times as many guns as we have people. So you have 300 and something thousand citizens. We'll round up and say 400,000 people living here. You got 1.2 million guns, maybe
400
more.
million.
400 million that we know of. And so obviously, in the conversation of getting rid of the guns is actually impossible. You go to a country like Australia where they didn't have that many, it was easy for them to get rid of. A lot of other countries, they don't have that issue. Here in America, it's almost impossible to get rid of. So that's out of the question. Then you go to, okay, well, clearly murder is still happening in all these other countries. It's just the tool is different. So you have to talk about, okay, why are these things happening? And then you go into what you brought up, which was it's weird that all these recent shootings that happened here in America was by a transgender person. So now we can dive into that conversation. It's like, okay, why is it always this person? And you can go crazy and say these are all cooperation of the government. We're not going to go there tonight, but let's stick with the transgender issue. Clearly, science shows that the number one, the suicide rate amongst transgender people is extremely high. You brought up violence. Now we're looking at the fact that they're just violent, period. And to your other point, it is not natural for us to transition from one gender to the other. You and I were both born male. We know plenty of people born female. And it's not natural to change this. And any doctor, like you said, that is cooperating with you to do this procedure is not a legitimate doctor. And if they went to school, either they didn't learn this in school or they're being taught something that's not scientifically accurate. So we can't trust our doctors now to do the right thing, to follow the right procedures. And what we have now is, like you said, an epidemic that will not stop by itself because these people will continue to commit heinous crimes, killing innocent people in mass numbers. And you even look at like a lot of gang violence. A lot of times it's not them going after innocent people. A lot of times they have different reasons why they're fighting. But to have an individual go to a church or a school and attempt to mow down all these people who have done nothing to them is probably the most mentally insane thing you can do on this earth, quite frankly.
So when you research and look at the individuals who've committed these heinous acts, every one of those locations has had a spark in their life, whether they went to school there at one time. There was an incident that took place there, and they always revert back to there. They go back there. They don't go somewhere else. They go back there because something traumatic happened to them there.
Hmm.
And neither you nor I know all of these situations, but we know the end result. Someone committed a crime, killed 2 innocent children in Minneapolis. But how many more innocent kids and I'm talking from both sides of the fence. When this doctor starts messing with this child in a hormonal way, that kid's not normal anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be normal again. So you've been able to see where the trans athletes have been in college sports. You can see the size comparison. You can see all of the things. These things just recently started happening. These things were not going on when the United States was thriving. This is self-made. People are creating this.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. This is the behavior here that potentially can happen in New York City if Mamdani becomes mayor. This kind of lax, let it loose, let it go. This is what we want. Socialist, communist. You have to have rules.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have rails to keep you on the road. Because if not, all hell's going to break loose. And this is going to be over and over and more relevant on a daily basis.
No, absolutely. And you kind of brought up how these situations almost seem manufactured because, in the natural sense of things, we don't have this increase of mentally insane people wanting to do these crazy things. And that's why I alluded to, like, at regardless of what you believe, you can argue at the very least this is partially the government's fault because the government has allowed these things to take place. Some people argue it's because of ignorance. Some people will argue that it's intentional. And regardless of what you think, I think that the government is part to blame for allowing, number one, these types of people to exist and for them to do the things that they're doing. I think that it's poor leadership, whether it's intentional or not. And I think that it can be prevented or at the very least lessened to a greater degree. If we actually had people in our government that wanted to stop it, it can definitely be done.
Well, it's just like school boards. We talked about this before, where they have allowed, well, we need a litter box in the school for someone who identifies.
Right.
You have to nip that in the bud and say, this isn't even plausible. We're not even participating in this. If you can't bring your son or daughter to school to where they can use the bathroom that they identify with at birth, once you start bending the rules, you're going to have the chaos that we have. And that's what has to be eliminated, whether it's the leadership of the school. But I think a lot of it now is the parents just, it's okay. We'll just let this go. We'll do this. And Johnny, you're no longer Johnny. You're going to be Suzanne. No. You have to be able to. There was a time when the United States had mental hospitals all across the country. Each state had different individual mental hospitals because they were helping people with mental diseases. And now all of that has just been gone by the wayside. You might get to see a counselor who is more likely or not going to push that to happen.
Yeah. How does that make you feel?
That's insane.
Well, time's up. That'll be $600.
Yeah. So you have this individual saying, well, we need to allow this person to express themselves. Well, you need to get back to the basics. We're expressing yourself. And I know guys and girls that have tendencies and have more butch women who are more butch than, but those people are gay. And I think you do what you got to do. And I have no problem with that. I think the minute you start changing what God created is when the issues begin.
So we got a question here or a comment, and I'm going to ask you your thoughts on this. Instead of chasing the hardworking man, we should put more government people in schools there was only one or two officers watching 1,000 kids, let's say like a public school or something.
Yep.
Where I went to school, it was 3,000. So, what do you think about using government officials, whether it's police or whatever, increasing that number to essentially secure the schools?
I think that we are the greatest country on the earth, and we've had some of the finest individuals serve in the police, serve in the military, who are aged out or retired, who would love, because to be able to participate in a mission, which the mission is protecting our children. So I completely agree with that person suggesting that. I think it could be done very minimal cost. And you already know these people are in a position to where they've already proven themselves with firearm training and all of these things. So it would definitely be advantageous to have those people around.
Yeah, I think that, and to go with this conversation and kind of some of the previous talking points is, you live in a great time when your biggest concern is what gender you want to be and if you can dress up as a cat or not. I mean, because in the real world, up until realistically like this generation, if you wanted to sit at home and be a cat and not go to work like a normal person, you starve. You don't get food, you don't have a place to live. That's just the reality of things. So the fact that we're in a generation right now where our biggest problem is like, what gender am I going to be today? Or, is my school going to let me wear cat ears today? The fact that we live in this day and age, and those are the biggest problems a student is facing, is beyond me. And to your point, I think that it makes perfect sense to add more trained officers to public schools for sure. Because, number one, in a way, that actually creates more jobs. If you need more police presence in the schools, you might have a lack of areas, a lack of positions in other areas. So you need to bring more police in. So that kind of solves a multitude of issues. But to the viewer's point, these kids should not have to go through this situation. As we said previously, the government is to blame. Maybe not entirely, but they are to blame for a majority of why this is happening. And the fact that we have to worry about, sending your kid to school and they might not come home, the fact that you have to worry about that is, in this country, in this day and age, should not even exist.
I completely agree with you. But in that same mindset that we're talking right here, we have the same leaders who, there was 8 people killed in Chicago this weekend.
Yep.
They don't have a crime problem. Why can the leadership, whether it's the mayor, the city council, the governor, not want to admit that let's figure out a way to solve this and let's protect everybody? Let's not just protect the rich people over here, because these people who are dying, they're African Americans in poor communities. These are the same communities that have been beaten down forever because of the same leadership. I've said it over and over on this show. There's one person who makes a lot of money in these African American communities, and it is
The landlords, essentially. The
in the
housing.
funeral service.
Oh, that too.
That's the one. Think of that. 8 deaths this weekend, and they're all within the same region.
And I think it was
So that funeral home
more.
director,
I think it was more than 8. I think it was a lot more than 8.
Okay,
From what I saw. But to your point, just Labor Day alone, Chicago, the grand, land of Chicago, there was a ton of shootings that had happened on Labor Day. And to your point, if you go to like the heart of Chicago, like downtown, the city, it's actually relatively safe, if you're walking around and going to restaurants and stuff. But there's an outer rim of more poor areas that you have to drive through to get to the city. And those are the areas where a lot of it is happening. And like you said, these poor areas are having these issues.
and the people living in these areas are begging for help. They want to be able to go out and be safe. They're asking the people to do this. And this isn't, I I get so frustrated with people saying that this is only black liberal areas. We actually have issues in conservative places. Tennessee, Memphis needs assistance. Birmingham, Alabama, they need. So I don't think this is just one side of the train than the other side. Let's figure out how to make the United States safe.
Mm-hmm.
All of these cities, all of the crime is preventable. We can stop it. DC, 2 weeks. I think there was.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why too Chicago has been a prominent talking point, because that's one of the cities that Trump's looking to move to next. And I think that realistically, what we've seen in these certain areas of Chicago, that actually might be a great idea, quite honestly.
But then you've got judges who are ruling that President of the United States can't do what he's doing. Like he just lost a case out in California that he could not, he should not, and cannot implement the National Guard in California.
Right.
So I don't understand why everyone is fighting so hard not to make the area safe.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you're doing.
Yeah.
You're making your community, your town, your city, your state more desirable for people to want to come to. It makes no sense to me.
They like to hide behind the narrative of tyranny via Trump for essentially almost everything. That's their excuse of why they disagree with what Trump's doing. And yeah, to your point, a lot of these cities are essentially harming themselves by not allowing law and order to take place, because they are dealing with a lot of issues, whether it's, homicides or robberies, whatever the case is. They say, no, we're going to handle it ourselves. We don't want this tyrant coming in and fixing it for us.
You know what this is? It's like no one wants the success to happen and it be credited to Donald Trump.
Right.
That's why they're not doing it.
Well, if a Democrat came in and was doing this, which they never will, but let's say hypothetically a Democrat was to do this, they'd be praising him and saying, roll out the red carpet for this guy and for the National Guard, let's make it happen. But of course, we're never going to see that in our lifetime, probably, a Democrat actually do that. But yeah, it's essentially, and we kind of briefly talked about this before the show, is no matter what this guy does, Trump, the left and even some on the right are going to fight him on it simply because it is him, and they cannot have him continue to win.
That's why I wore this hat specifically tonight. This hat says "Make America Great." It's a black hat. It's not a red hat. I'm not out Trump, triple trumper, triple trumper, triple trumper. I want this country to be great again. I want Memphis to be safe. I want Birmingham to be safe. I want Chicago to be safe. I love America. I don't give a damn who's at the helm of the ship. I just know there's certain captains that are able to navigate and get you to port, and there's other captains that'll leave your ass out at sea. So I feel like we got the best captain of the choice we had to drive the ship that we're on.
Absolutely.
So, and just leave it at that. There is no more, there is no less. Who can drive the United States of America better than the other person?
Yeah, and I do think genuinely the vast majority of people that did vote for Trump are kind of like what you said, which is, I just want to see this country be great again. It's not the cult following, because Trump does have a cult following. We can acknowledge that. But I think that that's only maybe 10% of the people. It's just like everything you see on the news is maybe max 10%, 10% of the actual population. 90% of the people that live here go to work, try to, work for their families, provide for their families, live a better life. And they do want to see their country be great again. Even if they don't want to admit it, people on the left, they want to see their country be greater again. Whether their vision aligns with ours or not, They want to see it better. So a vast majority of the people do want to see this country be great again, or just great for the first time in their opinion. I don't know. But you can't come to me and say, no, I want my country to fail. You're lying. You just have a personal agenda
But the
against this
thing
guy.
about that, saying that, you have these podcasters who are hanging out with Mamdani this weekend, and it's the same people that what he is saying and what he wants to do will destroy New York City.
Right.
It's not hard to see. There's nowhere in the United States of America that's ever given free bus rides that has been successful. The buses are overcrowded. The people who will pay to get to work can't get to work now. So Kansas did this. And they admitted that this does not work. They were losing millions of dollars. You're talking about New York City, all the buses, someone just being able to jump on that and ride it. It will not work. And that's just one instance. I don't want to get hung up on that right now. But the crime could be stopped and is preventable. But the thing I am disappointed in of where we are, which I think a lot of it is stopped, is I don't think that farmers, I don't think construction workers should have been getting picked up. I think the illegals who were criminals should have been the center of attention, because by throwing a blanket out, it's created an illusion, just like Alligator Alcatraz getting shut down by a judge. $285 million to get that up and running. Now that's going to be mothballed for a judge. What you got? Somebody commenting?
Yep. Hate to have missed the first 45 minutes. Had to work to provide for my family. Thankfully, you guys have a YouTube channel to rewatch. That's your buddy.
All right. Well, I appreciate the support.
Absolutely.
So we'll go into the Latin American. I see so much in it. Man, we could talk for hours and hours and hours about it. I think everyone should always be treated equally and fairly. But as we always say, the world is black and white. There's boys and there's girls. Admit that, and you can go from there. When you start saying there's something else, I don't have a problem with straight people, gay people, or whatever. I just don't think that you can take God's creature, whether it's a person, whether it's an animal, anything, and try to change it genetically. You're going to have a mutation that's not going to be right.
Oh, you're playing God and you don't have the capability to do so.
Correct. So it's just like Maduro in Venezuela. He's playing God to his country. The Venezuelan people elected a different president.
Yes.
And he decided that he did not like that result. He stayed as president. And that other person, a woman, is in exile. So Venezuela is moving along just like kumbaya, everything's great. And today, the United States has told them, we will prevent you from delivering drugs to the United States of America. So the United States shot down one of these boats today, a drug running boat. So my thoughts are, how is that going to put gas on the fire for the United States and Venezuela? Because right now, we've got 3 to 4 ships off the coast of Venezuela.
Yeah.
And Maduro said that he will provide weapons for every Venezuelan city or citizen. So how's that going to work out? Are we going to be in a Grenada type conflict? Or are we going to be in a Cuban Missile Crisis? Because when you look, Venezuela is not that far from us.
No, I think that this whole situation that Maduro thinks it's going to go down a certain way, and that's just not the case. If he gave guns to every citizen in Venezuela, he would essentially implode the whole country because they would just use them on each other. And the fact that they would even think about using it against potentially the United States military is retarded, and it's not going to happen. I think if he did that in Venezuela, they'd have people killing each other in the streets, and then we would actually kind of have to go in and put a stop to this. Obviously, that's what the United States looks like they're doing is they're positioning themselves to essentially regime change Venezuela. We're very good at regime changes. That's what it looks like it's kind of heading towards. And I think that Maduro is adding fuel to the fire and might actually lead to his demise much sooner than it would have organically.
Well, you look at how we handled Castro and all of these other people, Gaddafi, when Maduro's tied into Russia. Maduro's tied into China.
Yeah.
And right now, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and India are all having a big kumbaya meeting in China right now. So the possibility, I always look, all it takes is a little bit of spark to create a big fire.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that could upset the apple cart because China's been investing heavily in the Caribbean down there, wanting to see any type of something similar to what's going to happen with Venezuela. This could be a tremendous deal because you look north of Venezuela, you got the Panama Canal. And so you're just talking about so many things and so many variables that could easily change the dynamic of the Caribbean.
Yeah. That goes back to the old Panama Canal conversation, Greenland, Canada. I'm surprised no one's really talking about it right now. You know, Trump or the United States taking over Venezuela. I feel like that's the next talking point that's going to come out. Let's wait and see. You heard it here first.
There you go. So we'll see on that. But then the funniest story I saw today was a truck driver out in California. ICE was doing a raid. They were going to get people. The truck driver thought it would be funny to hook up to the ICE SUV and tow it off.
Wow.
So here you've got ICE agents out there arresting people. They come back to their vehicle, and their vehicle's been repoed by a tow truck driver. So ultimately, the short of this, the tow truck driver got charged for felony theft.
Of course.
To be funny.
Yeah.
And potentially can get 10 years in jail.
Well, things like that, you know, whether he was trying to be funny or trying to be a hero, ultimately, what did it really do at the end of the day?
Look stupid.
Yeah.
So I would say the guys in Houston are probably dumber than him. So we'll.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But I don't. India's middle class in their country, their middle class has more people than the whole United States of America. That's how populated India is. So when you start talking about Russia, China, India, North Korea, and Iran, you're talking about a lot of people.
Yeah, I think that's I think it's like a third of the world population if you're talking about just those countries.
So, and they have pretty strong technology. So I don't think the United States can continue to be an isolationist. I think that we've got to be more of the uniter. So I think what Trump's doing is wonderful, how he's interacting. Hell, I looked at a map of Greenland. Greenland would be a great state.
Yeah.
It's out there, be great. Venezuela, be a great state.
Eventually.
Puerto Rico's down there. Puerto Rico. But the problem is when you can't bring all of these places into the United States, because then the rest of the time that you and I are here, libtards will rule the country.
Mm.
That's the whole problem with that scenario.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because you're
more voters.
Yeah. You're increasing more voters who are going to vote to the one side. That's what amazes me about
I don't know about Venezuela, though, because I think the way I would see Venezuela going is it would just be more of a 50-50 situation, because a lot of the Venezuelans there would support someone like Trump because they're smart enough to realize what happened in their country. And the other half is still, they can't recognize it and they'll just vote for it. So I think it would kind of be the same thing. I don't think that they would all vote one way or the other.
Well, that's what you see. I don't understand how a single Jewish person in New York City can vote for Mamdani. I don't see how anyone who has lived in a socialist country or a communist country would want to participate in that lifestyle, because it will ruin them. You will see New York be a ghost town because those people will leave. They will not stay there to support this. So all of these free ideas and radical things that everyone is like, woo, let's do it. Like I saw today, de Blasio's come out and support this guy. Man,
yeah.
But you're talking about people who are affluent, who can afford to leave. They're not going to be the ones who struggle when he comes in to office. It will be all of the people who struggle in the democratic cities right now. It will be the poor people. It will be the African Americans. It will be the Latin Americans that are below middle class that will be impacted the greatest by all of this.
Yeah.
So, well, Labor Day weekend, you got anything to get off your ship?
Hopefully, we don't have a big hurricane season this time. I was at the beach for the weekend and didn't really get a chance to spend any time on the beach because of the storm that was going on there. I don't know if it's raining right now or not, but I think we got away with it this week.
We did get away with it. We haven't got any rain in the southeast.
Yeah, so I mean, let's walk bad weather off the ship, literal weather, and a lot of the stuff we talked about, negativity, the mass shootings, and all this stuff that we're talking about, and poor government leadership overall.
I wish everybody would take it upon themselves to realize that we have the opportunity to change everything that's going on around us. We don't have to be accepted of where we sit today, because there's stuff that's constantly chopping at you. You just got to get rid of those people swinging the axe, because when those people are gone, you've got a great foundation and you're going to be strong. So between now and next Tuesday, those people will be off my ship. Everywhere I go, whether it's down here, up there, but when I get back to Florida, wherever it may be. But ask yourself tonight, what's the one word that you would say that this country needs? What is the one word when we go off the show tonight? What's the one word that the country and the world needs?
I would say grace.
You say grace. Another person said unity. And I thought that was a good word.
That's definitely a good one.
When she said that. And the word I've thought about since then, that she asked me about this, I was like, what is the one word that the world needs? And I was like, I can't think of one word. But I thought of 3. Then I thought of 4. I said, you know what the world needs? The Robb Crocker Show. Have a good night.
Take care. See you later. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. We'll see you next time. Take care.
In a world full of noise and spin and shadows, One voice cuts through the lies like a blade through smoke.
Fear no man, fear no evil.
Because the truth is the only thing that matters.
Dance with the devil, walk with the angels, and the truth shall set you free. This ain't for the faint of heart. This ain't for the easily offended. This is where real talk lives. Because if it ain't black, it's white.
Welcome to the one, the only